If you want to publish a book, but you feel stuck, out of time, and you don't know what to do next, then it's time to finish the damn book. Here's your host, Susie Schaefer.
Welcome to this episode of Finish the Damn Book. I'm your host, Susie Schaefer. My guest today is Joel Mark Harris, an award-winning best-selling author, ghostwriter, and journalist. After graduating from the Langara School of Journalism, he began his career as a newspaper reporter and PR specialist before transitioning into marketing. Over the years, Joel founded several successful marketing companies dedicated to helping businesses grow and scale. Building on his expertise in storytelling and branding, he launched Ghostwriters and Company, a premier content agency that provides end-to-end ghostwriting, editing, and marketing services for authors, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. Joel's work has appeared in major media outlets, including Forbes, Yahoo Finance, NBC, CBS, Daily Hive, and Hacker Noon. One of his articles reached over 26,000 readers in just 7 days. He was also the ghostwriter for a LinkedIn newsletter that ranked among the top 15 most widely read worldwide, beating out the likes of Bill Gates and Richard Branson. Through his agency, Joel has ghostwritten over 50 books across genres, from business, true crime, memoirs, and self-help. He has helped hundreds of business owners scale their visibility and authority through content strategy and strategic storytelling. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you so much for having me, Susie. That's quite the introduction. It's a doozy.
It is a doozy, but it's a good one. It really gives our listeners a well-rounded idea of who you are and what you do, as well as your background.
Yeah.
So what specifically is challenging with your work as a ghostwriter?
I think each project is a little bit different. This is the great thing, but also the challenging thing is that, yeah, each project is just like slightly different, and each person is trying to get a little bit something different from their book. You know, some people want to become best-selling authors and they want to be rich and famous, right? And then some people just want to get the word out. They want to advocate for an idea, for example, or some people just want, their friends and family to know about their life, right? And so each book is obviously different. Some are chronological, some are told in episodic, parts. And so I think it's just try to figure out what the client is actually wants to achieve and how to make that happen, essentially. And so I think, yeah, it's the exciting part about ghostwriting. It's never, one day is never the same as the next, right? And yeah, just meeting new people and figuring out what their goals are and how to help them, essentially.
What types of books do you most like to write? And do you have a favorite that you can share?
Sure. So, I mean, I love all, yeah, it might be a little bit cliche, but I truly love hearing all stories. But I think the autobiography is definitely my favorite. Just, I love hearing people's stories about how they lived, how they grew up, what their challenges were. And it makes me feel grateful for the life I have, because I was just editing a book, and this woman's life story is just horrendous. It just gives me such heartbreak, because her mom like beat her as she grew up, when she was growing up, and she was abused by her stepfather. And I mean, I look at myself and I'm like, wow, I'm very privileged, very lucky, because I had a really great childhood growing up. And so I think, yeah, that's probably one of my favorites, is just, just kind of being able to tell that story and telling what she overcame to, be like a great member of society. And, eventually she found happiness. It took her a long time, but now she has a great partner who loves her dearly. And so, yeah, that's maybe my favorite at the moment, but it honestly changes. It's kind of like the project that I'm working on now always becomes my favorite. But yeah, maybe that's going to be the one I choose.
And obviously, you work on a variety of fiction and nonfiction books. So, what is your
Hmm.
process like? And is it different for fiction or nonfiction?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely a lot different. So, nonfiction is a lot more hands-on, I would say. So, of course, you have to make sure that you're telling the truth, that you're telling it accurately. It's in a tone that the author wants. And so it's a lot of interviewing, a lot of one-on-one time to understand their story, get to know them as a person, and being able to tell that story, yeah, in their point of view and in their tone and in their voice. Fiction, I would say, is not. It's less. Yeah, it's less hands-on in that way. They're like, I want like an action thriller that's told in the style of Michael Connolly or something like that. And it's like, great, okay, I know how to do that. It's a matter of just kind of writing the story. They'll send me an outline. So I think it's a lot less kind of personal interaction. It's a lot less work in terms of the way I do it, but I also enjoy the nonfiction better, even though it is a little bit more work. I think it's just great. Again, I love hearing people's stories. I love to get to know them, and all the people who have these life stories who are telling them. Such fascinating people, I'll tell you. Like, they're just like the most amazing people, and the the stories are just so interesting, so rich, and it's a pleasure to be able to tell them.
What are some of the biggest myths around what a ghostwriter
Hmm.
does?
Yeah, I think the biggest myths are probably that it's about telling a story. It's like about just repeating what people say, like, so they have, I record, I'll interview them much like this, and you'll be like, what happened when you're a child, or what happened, when you're a teenage, and they'll tell you. And people think that's just kind of like regurgitating what they're said, but it's so much more than that. It's shaping the story, it's finding the themes behind it, the why, how the person has changed over time. I think that's a big one as well. And I think people just think, oh, it's just like, yeah, it's just telling stories, it's just, I guess, communicating what happened, but it's really, there's a lot more shaping of the stories that go into it, and making sure that it's told in an interesting, captivating way, and that you know what to put in and what to leave out. I think that's also important. It's just I guess, the experience of knowing, yeah, how to shape a story and what to leave in, what to put in.
Right, like the big details versus the little details. What do you leave in? What do you leave
Exactly.
out?
Yeah. And how it shapes with the overall arching narrative, right? Because people think that, oh, it's just my life story. These random things happen. But when you actually look at it, when you look at the different details of a person's story, you realize that, oh, there's that shaped narrative. And it's pretty similar to fiction in that regard. And you can see this definitely, there's the similar themes that keep coming up over and over again, even though at one point you're maybe a teenager, and then the next point you're an older person, right? But the same things keep coming up, and it's being able to connect those narrative threads that I think is, it's something that a talented ghostwriter is able to do.
Absolutely. So, when you're working with a new client, how do you set expectations for them about what the process is like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I do is I always ask what their goals are. That's the first thing. I think that's the most important. Like I said, if they want to become a New York Times bestseller, there's a different set of steps that you need to do. If you just want to tell your friends and family about your life, again, there's like a different set of steps. So it really stems from the goal. And I think understanding the publishing process is super huge. And I mean, this as well as anybody, having to keep up with the changing, landscape of what the publishing industry looks like. It can be hard because it changes so rapidly. There's just the hybrid publishers just there's two big hybrid publishers that amalgamated into one company, right? So what does that mean for the authors, right? And so being able to communicate that to the client is, yeah, super important, and set kind of, like you said, setting this expectation. So if they want to become a New York Times bestselling author, you have to put some, a lot of marketing kind of oomph in it, right? And what do you have to do? You have to go on podcasts, you have to do social media, right? And so setting that expectations is super important. I like to set those expectations right up front, especially if they want to sell a lot of copies. Is like, you got to start marketing like almost immediately. Like, if my book is coming, I'm writing a book, this is what my book is about, right? And then I think, yeah, it's easier if they're just, I just want 10 books and I just want it to pass down to my grandchildren. That's definitely a lot easier expectation to kind of manage. But yeah, I think it's also something that you gotta set up right up front, because otherwise then the process just goes sideways.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on an average nonfiction book where you're interviewing the author and you're crafting the story around their life, maybe the life lessons, and it's kind of one of those types of book, what's the average number of hours that you spend interviewing an author?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, so it's usually about 3 months for twice a week. So whatever that is. I'm bad at math, whatever that is. And then, so that's like sort of the initial interviews. And that's where I craft. So after I do the initial interviews, I take those off. Like, thankfully I can transcribe them pretty much automatically, take all that information, and then I create that outline. And then there's generally like, like at this like second part, the middle part, it doesn't quite flow together. And so I have to do additional interviews. So, I mean, it is a very much, I wish I could give you a number, but it is like a very hands-on process. And it's not, if you're working with like a high level CEO, it can be hard to kind of get that time with them. But the thing with the ghostwriting is there's no shortcut. There's no way I can create a good high quality book without getting that time to understand, again, who that person is, why they're writing the book, sort of like the little details that we sort of gloss over a lot of the time. They're so important in getting the nuance in a book. So it is a lot of, yeah, it can be a lot of hands-on time and a lot of interviewing, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of that person's life, and what they believe, and how they position themselves. So yeah, it's definitely a very lengthy process that does take a lot of time to kind of get right.
Yeah. So where does your intuition play a role in your work as a ghostwriter? Do you listen to your intuition? And tell me a little bit about that. How do you use
Yeah.
that as a tool?
So I think intuition, just in general, like, forget ghostwriting for a second, it's so important to listen to your intuition. I feel like I pride myself on somebody who's always listened to that gut feeling. I think sometimes that's more important than looking at the facts. And I think when, again, you're dealing with like a creative process, right? So there's no right or wrong answer. It's not like you're programming a app where you type in some code and it works or it doesn't work, right? With ghostwriting, it's very creative, and there's like a lot of nuance, as I said, and so you really have to trust your intuition. And I think a lot of the intuition that I've built over time helps me, and it helps guide the ghostwriting process. But also knowing like the pull and give of a client, of like any sort of client's relationship, you need to listen to it, and it's very important. Again, especially with the creative process, I think, yeah, it's definitely, maybe, it's definitely up there in terms of like one of the skill sets you need as a ghostwriter, because you are going so deep into a person's life. And if you're doing an autobiography or a memoir, especially, you're hearing some like pretty rough stuff a lot of the time, right? And some, even like, I hear secrets of people who like have never told anybody anything like this before. And so being able to manage that as a person, like not just as like a, again, like a client relationship, but as a human being, it can be hard because yeah, it's a, I don't know, there's no other relation quite like it. It's almost like a therapy like session sometimes, and of course the ghostwriters never be a substitute for a therapist, but I feel like a lot of the time, people use it as a very therapeutic experience to tell their life story and tell what happened, why, what they felt, right? And there's something that transpires there that is very, I think it's, yeah, it's very special. And so yeah, kind of just to bring it back around, I think to understand the type of questions to ask and when to push, when to back off, you definitely need that intuition. And I wish there's like some, maybe there is a course out there that can teach you that, but it's such an important skill set that you just, I mean, I don't know if you can learn it, but it's definitely something you need as a ghostwriter.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that honestly, having intuition and using intuition in this industry, I think is really important because you're right. You have to know when you need to push a little harder, when you need to talk them off the ledge. And I've always said, I'm not a therapist, but I do a lot of therapy work in coaching clients and getting them to that, having that finished book, because many times it is very
Yeah.
emotional for them.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's kind of just trying to get them to get out of their own way too, right? Get them outside of their head, get past those feelings of doubt, of not being good enough, about, I can never write a book, right? I think you probably have the similar kind of experience of like, of really guiding them through all those emotions, because it is, yeah, it's a personal journey. I mean, even if it's a business book, I feel it's a very emotional roller coaster of a ride sometimes, and being able to guide that and steer the ship in a direction that gets you to completion is not an easy task. It seems, I think if you're not in the industry, it doesn't seem that hard, but yeah, once you kind of get into the nitty gritty and you get into the weeds a little bit, then yeah, it's a challenge because you're meeting all types of people from all walks of life. And one thing can work for somebody, but not the other, right? So again, intuition really plays, I think, a key role in guiding you and your compass, but also the compass of your client.
Yeah, completely true. And as you know, I also do readings for my clients. So what do you think? Should we pull 3 cards?
Let's do it. I'm excited. This is the most exciting part of this interview. Yeah.
You're killing me. Okay. Do you have a specific question that you'd like to ask that you think would be helpful for the audience? Or yeah, what do you think? Use your intuition.
Yeah, right. I think, how about, should we do something like, how do we get, how do you use past experiences to, how do you, let's think here for a sec. How do you, okay, how about this? How do you talk about a painful part of your past in a way that will convey emotion to the audience or to the readers? Is that a little bit too nuanced?
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay, perfect.
Interesting. 2 cards wanted to come just flying out.
There you go.
The first one is a 33 card. So the number 3 is the teacher. So 33 is a master number. That means this is the master teacher. So the card itself is chaos and conflict, which is very interesting because chaos and conflict, it's got a picture of a zebra that's wearing a giraffe's coat. Chaos and conflict is really about, don't worry so much about how it's going to be perceived by others. Just be authentic. This shedding of the zebra's coat, or the zebra shedding the giraffe's coat, is really the zebra stepping into its truth in who it authentically is. So, and by doing that,
I love that.
even though that's going to be so hard because it's going to create chaos and conflict within your own physical body and in your mind and your heart, right? even though it creates that chaos and conflict, that authenticity is what you will use to be a master teacher for others, because your experiences are
Mm.
valuable and other people will resonate with them. Now, the next card is a 38 card. 38, 3 plus 8 reduces to 11. So 11 is the number of fate and destiny. This card is to be fair, and it's got a picture of a woman who is balancing the scales of justice. This is a very Libra card, right? And so what this is saying is that be fair to yourself in being authentic, be true to yourself. And in the scales, you have two choices. One is a fortune cookie, which represents risk and the unknown. The other is an egg, which represents creativity, fertility, new ideas, those kinds of things. Now, on top of her head, she has a huge crown, and on top of the crown sits an owl. The owl represents our higher self, our connection with God, spirit, source, but our higher self. And it's saying, be fair to yourself, take a risk, allow yourself to be creative, and tap into your higher self to really bring that message forward. That's the part of it that I think a lot of people don't think of. They don't realize that by you being authentic and sharing yourself and taking that risk, that's really important. Now, both of these cards also have a banner at the top. So a banner represents this is what my guides have shared with me, that the banner is very much like the banners you would see in medieval times across markets and street fairs. Those banners represent past lives. So it's saying to our listeners, allow yourself to discover, what did you learn or what did you experience in a past life that you are working through and resolving in this life. Many times that is what happens. And then the final card is a 9. So a 9 is the representation of the end of a chapter or end of a cycle and being ready to embark on the next one. The card itself is Treasure Island, and it's a picture of a turtle swimming in deep water with a little treasure chest on its back with gold in it. And there's also hearts, so that's love. And what this tells us is that regardless of being worried about how you might be perceived by others, just remember, you have the treasure within you always. So just keep moving forward. The turtle does not go fast. The turtle is methodic in the way it swims towards the island. So just be methodical, just keep taking another step forward. Know that you carry that treasure within yourself. And the water represents emotion. So this saying that there can be very deep emotions when you're looking at sharing sides of yourself and your story with others. But that authenticity and really taking a risk and stepping into that is really what is going to bring your story into a place of just beautiful wisdom that others can impart what you've learned. So do it, take a risk, be authentic, share yourself, because that's the kind of stories that people want to learn about.
That's interesting. Did you know that I was a Libra?
What? Which part?
That I'm a Libra.
No, I didn't know that. I'm actually a Libra rising.
So I'm a Libra? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And it makes sense because, also in your work, you also have to, like you were saying, you balance the push and pull of extracting the story from an author. But Libra is also one of those that is just, you're always seeking fairness and balance. And so that is actually a really good trait for someone who does the work you do.
Yeah, I noticed like my Libra qualities coming out all the time. I'm definitely like somebody who loves balance, and I love like if something is out of balance, if people are fighting or if they're not seeing eye to eye, like that puts like a huge stress on me. And so yeah, it's funny to see kind of my like the traits come out. And it's very fascinating that you pulled that card, because I can definitely resonate with that one.
And Libras don't like a lot of conflict, so that's where you try and seek the balance and to resolve things. So chaos and conflict comes up and you're like, oh gosh, where's the balance? I got to find the balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what else do you have? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share? Publishing advice?
Oh boy, I think just do it. I'm gonna use Nike for a second. I think, yeah, you know, writing is such a powerful tool. I would encourage everybody, no matter who, like, even if you don't want to publish a book, even if you don't, like writing, just try it on, write for 10, 15 minutes a day. And I think you'll really see a difference in how you view life, how you experience life, and just by journaling. And it doesn't matter, honestly, I don't think it really matters what you write about. It's if it's, the picture of the, trees outside your window, or if it's about a fight you had with your partner. I think, just, yeah, I don't know, I think that writing is such a powerful tool. And there's something about the act of, like, transferring what you have in your brain through your arm onto a piece of paper. That's, yeah, it's super powerful. So I would, for everyone listening out there, everyone watching this, just try writing, and make it a routine, make it a part of your day, just like you would with exercise. I think it really helps with your mental health. It helps with all types of areas of your life. And I think it's probably more important to write pen and paper rather than on the computer. Get away from the screen for a little bit, because we're all spend too much time on screens anyways. And just, yeah, try writing and see what comes of it, and just be open to the possibility of change and possibility of whatever comes in your writing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, this is why I love meditating, and I journal. And even if you just take 10 minutes a day and sit down and quiet your mind and meditate and have your journal there so that you can do the pen to paper and write down the things that come up for you during that meditation. Sometimes those are some big aha moments, but you may not see it right at the moment. And the fact that, like, I can go back and look at my journals from 2 years ago or 5 years ago, and I look at those, and there are so many amazing things that I can see about how my life has changed and how,
Mm.
I have expanded and grown. And it's almost like going back and looking at old report cards from school, and you're like, oh, I got an A in English, kind of thing. It really validates that when you do the work and make it a daily practice, just like on this card with the little turtle, like taking one step every day, it's methodical. You develop that
Mhm.
as a daily practice. It can have huge benefits over time. I mean, my business is an example of this. My business is flourishing, and that, launching a podcast, all these kinds of things. It is because I do that day-to-day practice, that day-to-day work. So I think that's great advice, and I love that. Now, how can people
That's
get a
awesome.
hold of you and work with you?
Sure. Yeah. So my website is probably the best way, ghostwritersandco.com. You can find me, email me, info@ghostwritersandco.com, or you can, depending on what social, I'm pretty much on all social channels these days. You can find me, Joel Mark Harris is my handle on, I think, all, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, just message me, and I don't bite and love to meet new people. So yeah, say hi.
Yeah, I love that. And for the listeners out there, if you ever are looking for someone who's been a guest on my show and you cannot figure out how to contact them, reach out to me. I'm happy to make the introduction for you, because we are a very close-knit family in the publishing world. And it's really important that we are all connected, and we definitely do, refer people back and forth all the time. It's part of the way that our businesses survive.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, Joel. That was really fun. And I will let you know as soon as the podcast airs.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great. It's great talking.
And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode, and be sure to subscribe. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will be entered into a drawing for the grand prize, a private VIP day with me, valued at $25,000. So be sure to subscribe and post a review. Until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Finish the Damn Book. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes We'll win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 value private VIP day with Susie Schaefer herself. Head on over to finishthedamnbookpodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Susie's gift. And join us on the next episode.